Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. We're back with our weekly crypto news with Michael, who's head of written research, pumping out all this alpha daily over on the Nuggets News platform. So, Michael, how have you seen the week?
Yeah, another interesting one. Looks like we're coming up to that time of the year where everything's trying to get Russia in the States before Independence Day. They're really sort of stewing over the big, beautiful bill. So yeah, drama
We've
as always.
we've got some pretty exciting news about all the ETFs and some main nets, one in particular that we've been waiting for to go live. So let's dive into it all.
Yeah, so we'll touch on the markets real quickly before we dive in. Chop sideways. I saw a really interesting thing from Tom Lee, who is one of the big investors at the moment. He's sort of like rising up the ranks of the investor at the moment. Um, just effectively saying, with all this institutional investing that's going on coming into Bitcoin, why isn't the price ripping? And he's saying, well, there's been so many people for such a long period of time who are sitting on like incredible gains. And so we've got a lot of churn going on right now. And so the net buyers and the net sellers, like a lot of the sellers have been sort of waiting for this time since they bought Bitcoin at $100. Like there's a lot of people who hold a lot of Bitcoin who are probably realizing a lot of profit right now. But it's the changing of the guard. It's probably some of those real OGs offloading to institutions. And so Bitcoin is maturing and it's going to stabilize around this number because now this will become a floor.
And even that churn is still reasonably small when we look at those on-chain metrics about the days held and all that type of thing. Whales increasing their holdings and stuff. So it's nothing like scary, like we've mentioned before, as in this is the top.
No, not at all. Just there's a little bit of it's moving day effectively, and so a lot of people will take profit, but there's a lot of net buyers.
100%.
So, as we can see, we've become, and exactly on this topic, we've become more like integrated into TradFi, where now even banks and Combank talked about this in Australia back in 21, and it actually started to appear in people's accounts where they would accept the custody of Bitcoin, but then the market sort of tanked. We rolled into a bear market and they flipped it and never instituted it, but they went public with it. And you see Deutsche Bank has now done it as well now. So people are going to be able to hold Bitcoin in their account. You log onto your normal bank and you'll see your Bitcoin. And this merging of TradFi and crypto centralized crypto companies are all going to merge together.
And we've kind of seen some legislation as well around Bitcoin being acknowledged as a reserve asset or a collateral that you can borrow against and all that type of thing. And this is why the
Yep.
banks are going, okay, well, if they've got that money, we're happy to lend them more fiat kind of thing.
And they're going to need to do this, dangle the carrots to make sure that people like use their services, because the fact that you've got a decentralized asset that you can hold it yourself and you can go and use DeFi services to take loans against it, they're going to want to offer like fractional reserve lending against these assets as well, so that they can custody them.
Yeah.
So they have to dangle the carrot.
But also just keep in mind, obviously, most of us in our audience do not trust banks whatsoever. So you're not really going to be trusting your bank with your long-term holdings and with the way that everyone's freezing accounts for things you post on social media and the way the world's heading. So you've got to keep all that in mind too.
I haven't used a bank to on ramp like fiat into crypto in Australia in a long time. And so from my last knowledge is that most banks here were still blocking it at $10,000 a month in Australia or something
Yeah.
ridiculous like that. Yeah.
Uptrade, who's our OTC partner, are the last one that I've done, and there's no issues there using them. So links down below if you ever need to get large amounts in or out of crypto or your bank.
Shout out to them. Big news. Obviously, you've talked about them on the channel a lot before. I think you've interviewed them as well. The group's been chatting about them for a long time. But Botanix is launching their mainnet. So this is a real decentralized Bitcoin layer two that uses all the benefits of Ethereum, but then allows you to bring Bitcoin on chain and into a smart contract environment.
Yeah, I interviewed the CEO, Willem, yesterday, so I'll upload that probably tomorrow, guys. But yeah, their Spider chain and the way they've got the EVM equivalent network that's all set to go now. Pretty exciting, and another competitor taking a different approach to stacks as well. But yeah, super excited. I think they've got. We're going to do some write ups for members on how to get the best airdrops and the top infrastructure plays within this ecosystem and all that type of stuff. But yeah, super excited to see they've already partnered up, as you can see there, to pay with Lightning and all this type of thing. So yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah, these are the big tech sort of upgrades to the Bitcoin ecosystem that are going to be the next leg for all of us, like decentralized types that aren't TradFi institutions.
Yeah.
And so this is a bit of the theme for today because we can see that Wall Street is sort of now trying to integrate, and they're late to the party, but they're trying to integrate as much of blockchain technology as they possibly can. And we saw it this week that Robinhood is now rumored, or effectively not rumored, they're pretty much confirming it here, but they're building their own L2 using Arbitrum's tech stack. And so now this is going to be, for those that don't use Robinhood or aren't American, this is pretty much stock trading now coming on chain. And so Robinhood has been famous for allowing, retail into stocks. And this is exactly now what they're going to do by bringing it all on chain.
Yeah, as we spoke about in previous episodes as well.
They've been going on about this, how to catch a token. So this is exactly what they're doing here, just really trying to drive home now that they're going to tokenize. It's the tokenization of everything. It's Larry Fink's, beautiful dream. And going along this, well, they've got competition because Kraken now obviously bringing stocks into their environment. So this is what we're saying. It's the merger. So the Wall Street guys will come to blockchain, and the blockchain guys will come to Wall Street, and they're all sort of going to fight over the same pie as the tech gets morphed into just one big future of finance.
And this is cool here, as I said, trading 24, so not 24/7 quite yet, but 24 hours a day is a huge step up from retail investors that typically only get to trade like 10 till 4 opening market hours for the top 60. And then obviously the next step for them is maybe their own chain that we mentioned, Inc. last week. Yep. And are they going to go to 24/7 trading, or is all global trading just going to go to these new systems and just be 24/7 by nature as we move away from the old system?
And we'll move into this in a second, but I only see this as bearish for like really speculative low cap altcoins, because look at the distribution of where capital is now going to flow to, where you get people on chain who can be purchasing, real blue chip assets and keeping them on chain. And so like, we'll talk a little bit about this more in detail. So the SEC looks like that they are all guns blazing here on the next run of ETFs. And there's going to be a huge run of, blue chip, old school crypto projects, which will get their ETFs. And so the talk here is that, Solana's pretty much a given. It looks like there's a whole bunch of others that are given: XRP, Dogecoin, Polkadot, Cardano, HBAR, and AVAX. And so there's been a lot of probably FUD around a lot of these projects. They did pump like oddly about 18 months ago, or how long ago was it? 12 months ago. There was Dino coin like late last year. And all the Dino coins sort of pumped out of nowhere. I foresee this now as like these projects are now getting anointed, that they've got history. They're not speculative. They're going to become institutionalized assets. And so, XRP really ripped out of nowhere and has become, really entrenched as number 3 crypto asset. But Cardano, Polkadot, HBAR, AVAX, not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's great to see. It continues to follow our thesis about being heavyweight, the top ones, and even, like you said, those top basket of stocks in the stock index. While retail is struggling with the cost of living, we're just going to keep seeing money flowing in for the top end of town, wherever they're parking it.
I've been one who has always thoroughly enjoyed the memes around Cardano. Like, I've never been a Cardano user personally. I loved all the Cardano and XRP memes back in the day, but I yield. Like, these guys are not going anywhere. They've got really strong communities. I've been on the other side of that fence where I love the Polkadot ecosystem, and I've heavily invested. It's probably one of my top 4: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Polkadot. That's where I spend my days. But yeah, these assets, like, you got to give it to them. People have stood by them, and they will be forever around.
Yeah.
So some other, I guess, interesting things that are happening around the place. I feel like Solana is now needing to find like its next catalyst, because I can see that there's going to be an ETH run. So what does Solana move to here? Well, they're really focusing on some of these projects. So like Melee, I guess what is Melee, as it says here, it's Pump Fund meets Solana. Meets Polymarket. Yeah. So like, I can see that Solana is going to get more of this sort of degen type sort of play. Everyone's already got their Solana wallets. They've already got Sol. There's going to be a lot of more speculative type sort of stuff. And I can see ETH becoming the more institutional side of things. Um,
Just on that, Mark, though, what was the name of the gaming shell company that the ETH guys have bought to do like an ETH treasury that was betting and prediction markets? So we might see
yep.
some poly market style gambling prediction markets, similar thing to this melee that's on Solana come to ETH through that company. Yeah.
Yeah, the ticker's escaping me right now, but it's Joe Lubin. If you can follow Joe Lubin's page, you'll be able to see it. But yeah,
Yeah.
the ETH version of MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
Something link, I think it was. But anyway, yeah, I'll find it. We'll tweet it out. But yeah, Byro, another real interesting one as well. So native liquidity for Solana. So this is going to happen through, I think, Bybit's launchpad. This is like Bybit's DEX. So again, just seeing like what these old school, like really well capitalized crypto ecosystems are going to start trying to get their hands in, and exactly the same sort of thing, like get them into some speculative degen assets. I think I think Binance really pioneered this, where they saw that on-chain metrics and on-chain trading was going to be a threat to them, and that's why Binance Smart Chain existed in the first place. And now it's happening the other direction as well. So yeah, really, really interesting. A lot going on. Obviously, we can see, over the coming weeks and the coming months, we're just going to have this morph into TradFi and blue chip assets. And so I would be very cautious at the moment into going into like really speculative or be too heavyweight into speculative assets. But I am gobbling up as much sort of like Solana and Polkadot as I can get my hands on right now, personally.
Yeah. So, guys, just a reminder for our high net worth investors, that meeting is Tuesday, 8 p.m. this week. Otherwise, you can sign up for our free newsletter or all our premium crypto research and portfolios over at nuggetsnews.com.au. So, thanks, Michael. We'll chat to you again next week.